Your life, your path, is not random. The pain you feel, the patterns you keep repeating, and the confusion about what your purpose is not suffering. Rather, it is the guide for your map. If you don't know how to read it, you'll believe you're lost, and therefore you are. Life is not as complex or difficult as it may seem. It is simply misunderstood. When you begin to understand the nature of reality, your nature, life reveals its effortlessness. In this video, I'll walk you through the spiritual roadmaps and concepts that serve in the path of self-realization. From the ascension spiral, the Hawkins scales, ancient systems, and even astrology. First, to understand these roadmaps of consciousness, we have to realize something crucial. Healing is not linear. We often return again and again to the same patterns and same triggers, even after years of inner work. This makes many people believe they're doing something wrong, that they are less spiritual or somehow failing the path. But in truth, healing rarely happens in one clean sweep. This is due to healing being non-linear, and more accurately, a spiral. This is because we are multidimensional beings. This description shows that our blockages and traumas can affect us at different levels of our being. So each time a pattern resurfaces, it is not regression, but deeper integration. On the path of self-realization, this spiral nature of the map allows us to be able to understand ourselves further. Looking at it from a bird's eye view, we can split the spiral into two sections, positive and negative, which really just means states of contraction, stagnation, and resistance versus expansion and awareness. So during the spiritual path, we can see that we are alternating between these energies, as it is the expression of free will. And looking at the spiral from the side, you can see the spiral gets wider, thus representing the expansion of awareness. And the tighter the spiral, the less awareness one possesses. Now, let's use other frameworks to aid this understanding, such as the 4 bodies of consciousness. Where the bodies of consciousness is split into different layers, we can see how the spiral interacts in these fields as we heal. So I will quickly go over the 4 bodies of consciousness from the yogic tradition. But if you want a more in-depth video, I will link my video about these layers in the description. The 4 bodies of consciousness start at the first layer and the dense layer of the gross body, representing the waking state. The second is the subtle body, representing the dream state. The third is the causal body, representing deep sleep state. And the final and 4th body is the great causal body, representing the transcendent state. So any experience is represented throughout all of these bodies. So as we can go through and ascend the spiral of healing, we also ascend up the bodies, with the first layer of healing being at the gross body, where we are not even aware of the blockage, of the shadow. Living out the imbalance, the pattern, as if it is part of our identity. This is where the spiral is very tight, and most people may take lifetimes to get out of this section, as these blockages are signaled through the gross body first, through physical and emotions. Once you're aware that these emotions are placed there for healing instead of just to express or to avoid, then you transcend it, being called gross purification or spiritual awakening. Moving on to the next level of the spiral, the subtle layer. Subtle purification can take a very long time, as this is the identification of thoughts, labels, and stories about ourselves, needed to be transcended and can sometimes take even decades. Becoming aware of the thought patterns and identities is how one goes through the subtle purification. Moving into the third layer of the spiral, the layer of the causal, this is where any distortion in our energy centers will create life experiences for us to learn. As life is the greatest teacher, so until you become aware of the life patterns and seeing it coming through you, you will continue to repeat the same patterns of resistance and victimization, which reinforces each blockage. This is what catalysts are. life lessons and experiences for you to understand oneself. Causal purification can only happen after the first two layers have been purified. Until you stop identifying with one's thoughts, stories, and emotions, you will continue to justify and spiral around and around, experiencing the same catalysts and patterns hundreds of times. The fourth level, the great causal level, is completely different from the three other layers. This is because it requires no effort or work on our behalf. This is due to this being the layer of mastery over the blockages. This does not mean that the patterns will immediately go away, as this can be seen as a game of momentum, as you will be periodically checked to see if you can respond appropriately. Especially if one has been entertaining identification for decades or even lifetimes. But once you're at that fourth level, it's just a matter of time, as these patterns will just surface and we will be able to respond instantly or effortlessly. There is no attachment, no identification for the ego to latch onto. By looking at the spiral through different lenses, different dimensions, we can begin to truly understand its depth. The spiral isn't just symbolic, it's encoded into everything, from the wavelengths and mathematical curves of the golden spiral found in galaxies, seashells, and even our DNA. In this way, the spiral reflects not just our spiritual evolution, but the very nature of reality. You can even imagine the spiral flattening into a sine wave, flipping between the positive and negative, contraction and expansion. But instead of looping in a straight line, this waveform rises on a diagonal, constantly ascending. So, what once felt like your lowest point becomes the foundation of your next awakening. Now, if we look at the golden ratio, we see how exponential the spiral becomes as it grows. This reflects how your healing and awareness expands faster and faster the more you align with truth. Sacred geometry isn't just beautiful, it's instructional. It's the language of infinity right in front of our eyes. Another way to look at the spiral is as a point converging into nothingness until it collapses in on itself, and a new spiral explodes outward. This is the Big Bang of awareness, the shift from the causal body into the great causal. It's not a linear upgrade, it's a dimensional expansion. This new spiral isn't just higher, it's vastly more expansive, containing deeper wisdom and clearer perception than the previous ones ever could. In Buddhist and Hindu traditions, this repeating spiral of suffering and karma is called the wheel of samsara. As long as you are unconscious, identified with thoughts, emotions, or ego, the wheel turns endlessly. But the moment you align with your highest passion, your true nature, and begin to flow with the spiral and not fight it, you begin to rise above the wheel, becoming free of the cycle and being fully liberated. Looking at another popular roadmap of consciousness, David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, we can see how it works in harmony with the spiral, the four bodies, and even the chakra systems. This scale helps us break down human consciousness by measuring different states of being through their vibrational frequency. The lower levels representing contracted states like shame, guilt, apathy, and fear, and the higher levels representing expanded states like love, joy, peace, and ultimately, enlightenment. And just like the spiral, as you ascend this scale, you also ascend through the layers of consciousness. So, as one rises up Hawkins' scale, they also widen the spiral, slowing down their perception of the wheel of samsara, eventually to the point that you are in perfect flow of the spiral and the spin of the wheel, touching upon the effortless flow of the pure Tao. Once at this point, you transcend the wheel entirely, merely observing the cycles at the state of self-realization, the great causal body, enlightenment. While everyone's timeline, cycles, and patterns are unique, there are powerful tools and maps that can help us explore the deeper layers of our transformation, including Gene Keys, I Ching, and astrology. Astrology has long been recognized as a profound map of consciousness, and so much more. The influence of the stars and planets goes far beyond mere gravity. Astrology offers one of the clearest mirrors for our timing, our karmic cycles, and the archetypical energies we are here to embody. With countless ancient traditions using astrology to further understand themselves and their place in the cosmos. But in modern society, it is often dismissed or misunderstood, labeled as superstition, or reduced to a shallow horoscope. This misunderstanding comes from both sides, from the dismissive who overlook its depth and symbolic language, and from those who misuse astrology as a form of spiritual bypassing, avoiding self-responsibility by blaming the stars. But true astrology isn't about predicting your fate. It's about understanding your archetypical blueprint and how to dance with the cycles of life consciously. To really work with astrology as a spiritual roadmap and guide, it helps us to understand the cycles that are always unfolding around and within us. These cycles act like cosmic clockwork, revealing the timing of certain energies and archetypes. The lunar cycle or the moon cycle is one of the most direct and emotional cycles we experience, as it's roughly every 29.5 days and moves through different energies throughout this cycle, with the new moon representing the archetype of planting the seed and inner stillness, the first quarter to represent action, growth, intention, the full moon to represent culmination and illumination, and the last quarter to be release, reflection, and integration. This is a monthly spiral of transformation, and your body, mind, and spirit will mirror these archetypes. While the emotions, thoughts, and catalysts may be different for every person, the overarching theme, the archetype, will remain the link to it all. The 12 zodiac signs is another cycle that is annually. Each month, the sun moves through a new archetypical energy. Thus, new energetic cycles of archetypes to play out. And like the lunar cycle, the emotion, thoughts, and catalysts will differ per person, but the archetype remains. And furthermore, it is not that these archetypes, emotions, thoughts, and catalysts stay the same every cycle, as they will change every new cycle, every new year. This is easily seen as the solar system is not stagnant, but it is moving collectively in space, all having new locations, new energies, and new archetypes to explore. Another important cycle to understand is the 12-year cycle of human life. Once a person becomes very balanced, their life begins to move in clear 12 to 12.5 years cycles. For others, this same energy might show up in short intervals, every 3 years, 18 months, or even every few months, depending on their inner alignment. This 12-year rhythm closely mirrors the orbit of Jupiter, the largest planet in our solar system, which has largely been associated with wisdom, expansion, and spiritual growth. These cycles don't stop at the individual level. They scale into much larger cosmic events, like the Maha Kumbh Mela, a 144-year planetary alignment that occurs when Jupiter and the Sun comes into rare resonance. These moments are considered gateways or portals for spiritual purification and transformation. And these cycles extend far beyond just a few lifetimes. We are not just moving through personal spirals, but riding on planetary, solar, and even galactical cycles. Spirals so vast, they shape entire ages of consciousness, with major cycles of 25,000 years and even 75,000 year cycles, marking transitions between levels of awareness in the collective. As these cycles have been studied for a long time in ancient cultures, with a great example of being the Mayan calendar, with the end of the last great cycle in 2012, pairing with these major and great cycles. This pairs with the understanding of reincarnation, as it can take multiple lifetimes for people to go through cycles as part of their large cycles. And while these vast, expansive, and very influential cycles help us show the map and create our reality, this is all co-creation, as it is our choice, our free will, in which we dance with these cycles. So it is not to blame the cosmos for your action, because it is your responsibility of the energy gifted and what you do with it. While there are many more forms of spiritual maps, it is up to you, the map reader, the one on the journey, to follow the signs and the synchronicities to further understand yourself, as it is all just a remembrance of who you are and your true nature. Oneness. That's it for today's video. Like, subscribe, leave any comments or questions, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace! Do you ever feel lost, confused about who you are, why you're here, and what your true purpose is? Do you feel disconnected, lacking the purpose, direction, or energy to do what you truly want in life? I know that feeling well because I lived it, but through that confusion, I discovered something powerful. The deeper meaning you're searching for is already within you. The problem is, most people are never taught how to access it. That's why I'm dedicating my life to help others reconnect with their true self, to understand what life is really about, break free from limitations, and master their energy. My name is Ellis-Hernandez, and my journey began with a powerful awakening after a long period of depression and disconnection. And since then, I spent years diving deep into spirituality, science, philosophy, and energetic mastery. Through practices like meditation, yoga, qigong, holistic health, and a lot more, I've learned how to activate my energy, live in effortless flow, and follow my true passion. Now, I help others do the same. I work with people who are ready to break through, align their soul's purpose, and step into the most vibrant, awakened version of themselves. If that's you, I offer personalized one-on-one coaching to guide and accelerate your transformation. I also offer online courses designed to unlock your potential. And I have a YouTube channel filled with powerful insights to guide your journey. You don't have to stay stuck, and you don't have to keep searching. The path is already unfolding. Are you ready to step into the life you are meant to live and master your own energy? Click below to begin the journey today.